I would assume to some extent that priesthood is like any other, I hate to call it a job because it's not, vocation in some ways, and of course completely unique in others. But one thing that has always plagued the church since about the 5th century is men of ambition, within the church. The 5th century was really the first point where the church had any political power at all. No one cared what the Christians thought before that. But once the church gained power, something began to happen that the saints who were alive at the time wrote about. Oh Lord, I forget his name. St. Anthony, he said it best. There's too much of the world in the church, and there's too much of the church in the world. And the fruit of that was that a lot of holy men and women went off into the desert, far from the cities, far from the politics, and that's how the monastic order was born. The first monastics were Christians who saw the infiltration of secular power and politics within the church and just couldn't get out quick enough. They didn't abandon the faith. They abandoned, to some extent, the game. But they didn't abandon it in spirit or truth. They prayed. This wasn't just, I'm going to separate myself from the crazy. It was, I'm going to pray. And I tell you, I'm serious, I am fully convinced that one of the main reasons the church is still standing strong is because of the prayers of these monastics who spend most of their life in prayer. Now, if you talk to any monk or a monastic, they'll tell you nobody's more hardcore than the Carthusians. Who, this morning, by the way, I talking to someone, I called them Carthaginians, but the Romans killed all those in about 400 BC. But, sorry, that was a history joke, and in my head it was very funny. Carthusians are the men who followed the example of St. Bruno. And it would be hard to walk you through the whole thing in a short amount of time. So here's what I'll tell you. He saw the train wreck and he prayed. He prayed. And I can't tell you how many times when I post something and say we need to pray, well, we need to act too. Right? And there's always someone to say that, as if precipitous action isn't a problem for Americans. It reminds me of the idea, don't just do something, stand there. Huh? So Bruno saw the train wreck and he stepped away and he committed his life to prayer and holiness. And to quote St. Al Pacino, they kept trying to pull him back in. Pope after pope begging him, we need your intellect, we need your integrity. But here's what he knew. He could only keep those things so long in a poisoned pool. So he would step in, he would sanctify, and then he would step away and get sanctified. What a beautiful man. And how blessed are we that we're about to receive the same Eucharist he received. Not one like it, not a piece of the same one, but the same Eucharist he received. So in this day and age, when everyone wants us to do something, Jesus is telling us to knock it off. And he's telling us to sit in his presence and recharge those spiritual batteries so that the light that shines from us is not ours, but his. Amen?